Guangzhou is defined by its density. Home to over 18 million people, the landscape is a constant sequence of highway overpasses, high-rise apartments, and a pace of life that never actually slows down. In this environment, space and silence are the city's rarest commodities. The compression of the modern grid creates a physical and psychological weight that most residents simply accept as the price of living here. Yet, sitting right beside this gray sprawl is a 21-square-kilometer natural sanctuary. This is Baiyun Mountain, a massive geographical outlier that sits closer to the city center than many of its suburbs. We're going to ascend this peak, moving from its highly developed foothills to the summit at 382 meters. Along the way, we'll see how a wild, subtropical ecosystem manages to survive in the center of a global trade hub. Managing a city of this scale involves more than just building roads and power lines. It also requires a deliberate counterweight, a space large enough to effectively shut the urban noise out. At the base of the mountain, the hard edges of the city begin to soften. The concrete street grid gives way to wide, accessible gardens and paved trails that allow for an easy transition into the forest. Local residents use these lower slopes as an extension of their living rooms. Every morning, these courtyards fill with groups practicing Tai Chi and community exercises, using the mountain's accessibility to maintain health routines. This human connection to the mountain isn't new. These same paths have been used as a retreat from the city for over 2 millennia, dating back to scholars and monks from the Warring States period. The tradition of seeking refuge continued into the 20th century. Dr. Sun Yat-sen frequently visited these quiet trails to escape the pressures of revolutionary politics. Even the diplomatic history of the city was shaped in the mountain's secluded villas, which hosted leaders like Zhao Enlai for high-level retreats. As the trail climbs higher, manicured gardens are replaced by the red walls of Nangren Temple. This marks the point where the city's recreational areas shift into centuries-old spiritual sites. These lower slopes are more than a park. They serve as a physical record of Guangzhou's history, where the city's cultural and social life has been documented on stone and trail for generations. Moving into the mid-mountain zone, the human element begins to recede. The paved paths are now completely enveloped by a dense subtropical forest canopy that blocks out the view of the skyscrapers below. This 95% forest coverage acts as the city's green lung. It filters out urban pollutants and drops local temperatures by 4 degrees. Operating as a massive carbon sink across 21 square kilometers, the vegetation processes huge volumes of CO2 while releasing fresh oxygen. Nestled within this dense forest is Mingqin Valley, one of Asia's largest natural bird enclosures. The valley supports over 150 rare bird species. It's a level of biodiversity that feels impossible, given that a city of 18 million people is right over the next ridge. This entire mid-mountain ecosystem is sustained by the Huangpodong Reservoir, which provides the critical water supply that keeps the forest lush throughout the year. This concentration of plant and animal life creates an ecological engine. It doesn't just survive the city, it actively regulates the air and temperature of the surrounding sprawl. The final push to the summit requires a steep climb through the mist. The trail breaks through the forest ceiling toward the mountain's highest point. Stepping onto Moxing Ridge, the sensory change is immediate. The noise of the lower slopes vanishes, replaced by a sharp drop in temperature and the absolute silence of the peak. From here, you get a 360-degree view of the sprawl. The towers of Zhujiang New Town look small from this height, and you can see exactly how the Pearl River cuts through the center of the grid. At night, the contrast is even more visible. The peak remains a dark, quiet void, while the city below is fully lit up in neon and glass. Given the value of land in a global city, the fact that this 382-meter peak remains a forest is a deliberate choice by the city. Baiyun Mountain provides the relief that 18 million people need to function. It demonstrates that as a city grows larger and more dense, the value of preserving a space that ignores the urban grid only increases.